And put this here. Hey guys, I'm just giving it a moment for people to chime in here. I don't have a set schedule for when I make my live videos. I just kind of get in where I fit in. Hi, Hadisa and Janine, Michelle. So, hey guys, this is a support group requested video, and I haven't gone live in at least a week or so, maybe even 2 weeks. Hey Amanda, hey Majorie. So I figured, you know what, I'll go live to answer this one because it's going to be real simple for me to answer, honestly. Good morning, Tracy. See, I'm getting to your question, and I'm going to do your second video, hopefully sometime today. I'm going to have to get that one. Tracy, she's chimed in here, and she asked 2 really good questions on the support group thread. And yes, I'm finally making my way back because I really had to think about this, Tracy. I really had to think about it. And in short, yes, narcissism is a choice. Through my research, it's a choice, guys. It is certainly a choice. Hadisa says, do you think R. Kelly is a narcissist and a misogynist? He definitely is a predator. And he definitely has some sexual dysfunction. You know, he has issues in that realm. Based off of a lot of the evidence presented to me and information that I know about his life, yeah, I would say that he was narcissistic. He feels very entitled to sexually exploiting young women. And he uses his money to cover it up and, you know, get away with it. Yeah. He tells on himself in his songs. And, you know, people do typically reap what they sow, and karma does come around. Maybe now, you know, the light will be shining further on him, and more awareness to what he has going on, and perhaps he'll have some type of slap on the wrist or some type of legal accountability here at this point, because there's a lot of piles of evidence. But you know, if you know anything about law, you know, it's a very sticky situation, you know, especially in America, where you can pay off people and get rid of things and make things disappear, so to speak, and manipulate the legal system. Yeah, but I do believe that narcissism is a choice, because if you could think about it, you know, I thought about several instances where it was just obvious that it's a choice. Think of 2 children brought up in the same household. With one parent or both parents exhibiting these narcissistic traits. Why does one choose to become a narcissist and the other one didn't? You know, these are choices, because I do believe, you know, if we want to make it like go back to a center point, it's like a survival of the fittest type of thing. It's somewhere in that child's perception. And that's Darwin, that survivor of the fittest thing that I just threw out there. They feel like as a coping mechanism and for their survival, that they have to be this way. Now, what happens with the narcissist is, just like yesterday in my video where I was talking about our brain cells, which we have over 5 billion neurons in there. And when we create that pathway, and I talked about neuropeptides yesterday and how, like an addiction to something, it remembers. And if we're constantly fueling and feeding it, it becomes very powerful. So the narcissist behaviors become extremely engraved and embedded inside of them. And it's hard to pull away from that kind of addiction if you're thinking about someone who might have made that choice at the age of 2 or at a very young age in their life, and now they're in their 50s. How hard would it be for them to pull away from that? You know, not impossible, but how hard would it be? And that's why we don't see them change, not for the better anyway, because that has to be probably one of the worst addictions to kick right there. And retraining themselves from that way would take a lot of severe therapy. And our mind is very centered on reward. So you're not going to feel that reward right away. The narcissist is not going to feel an immediate reward in their mind for making that shift. It's actually going to feel very painful. You know, the purge that you felt, you know, just learning about narcissistic abuse and making that shift and breaking your addiction to the narcissist. Can you imagine what the narcissist would feel? And this isn't for you to give them sympathy. It's just for you to understand, you know, why it's less likely that they're going to change and face themselves and stop running, you know, from themselves, so to speak, because they spend their whole life doing that. And that's why they're creating this false mask. And when we look into Darwin's theory about the survival of the fittest, they said he's saying is not the most intelligent person that's going to go the furthest in life. And we can see this in our daily waking life. He says it's not the strongest person, like the person with the most muscles, that's going to go the farthest. It's that person that can adapt to change. And the narcissist is good and bad at this at the same time. Yeah, they're able to temporarily morph in their environments time and time again for their perception of being able to survive. And I'm going to act like this with this person. I'm going to act like that with that person, and so forth and so on. But, you know, obviously they can never maintain it. And that's their downfall. You know, they're morphing, but it's all temporary, you know. So, but they're doing this to try to survive. But it's a choice, guys. So I've made videos on saying, you know, they do know what they're doing. But, you know, they're just out for themselves and their survival and what they think will get them what they want. NPD, it is, you know, recognized as a personality disorder, but they say that it's the one with the least amount of meat on the bone, if you will. They almost took it out of the document, if you will. They almost took it out. Because it's kind of like least identified, if you will. But yeah, it's basically a maladaptive style. Like they're trying to survive in their mind. Oh yeah, Tracy, definitely R. Kelly. We'll definitely put him in the somatic category. Anthony Barnes says, is my ex really a narcissist, or am I just wired and sensitive? This is my constant question I ask myself. Well, Anthony, I would need some information to try to gauge that. But, you know, now narcissist is like this hot word, and it does get thrown around a lot, honestly. And sometimes people are jerks. And some people use it to describe people that they simply just don't like. You know, there's a lot of times when the word gets misused. But I do think that it's underrepresented, because I was reading an article that was saying like 1 to 2% of the population is narcissists. I really think that number is a lot higher. But because, you know, it's very, I won't say it's not very hard to measure it, but, you know, science is built around like quantitative things, and you know, some things with like personality disorder is like very tricky, if you will, to measure it, because it's not like a broken bone and you know there's like A, B, C, D, E, like all these things that you can exactly know, like, yeah, your bone is definitely broken because this has happened and that. Like, it's a whole lot more onions and a whole lot more complexity when it comes to something like a personality disorder. And then I think that's where the confusion comes, you know. I'm just reading a thread here, guys. And, you know, Anthony, real quick, you don't have to like, you know, and I made videos about this, you know, for you, Anthony. I just wanted to say, I always tell survivors sometimes we don't get all the questions answered and we don't need to know everything, but you can know what you need to know. You know, was that person disrespecting you? Were they not serving you, you know, as far as bringing light into your life and whatnot? And that could be enough. You don't need to know 100% sure, were they actually a narcissist? Like, no, this person disrespected me. I know what I need to know to leave them alone and move on with my life, you know, that sort of thing. So be careful of, you know, what's renting space in your mind and the things that you're making a priority as far as things that you're letting go of too. Yeah. Ruben says, question, in Chicago, my name is La. Are those eyes? Aya? I have to go to court to testify against my husband, whom is a malignant narc. We have a no contact order of protection, and I am really scared. Okay. And what's your question, Rubens? I don't see the question. Tracy says he tells on himself in songs and denies it in person. Right. Happy New Year's, Camille. Pete says, are there any narcissists that choose to stop? I haven't met them. I haven't met them, Pete. So that's what I'm going to say about that. You know, if they feel like it's working for them, if they're so disconnected from human beings that they're okay with switching people out for the most part. So that's not a negative aspect of things to them. You know, so if they feel like it's still working for them, they're not going to choose to stop. And losing a person isn't like, although that can cause a narcissistic injury, is not typically devastating them the way that it does when you form a real connection. Steve says, not a choice in extreme cases, is self-protection, autopilot from childhood severe mental trauma. But it's still a choice, like I said, because in their perception, they're feeling like this is keeping them safe. It's still a choice to me, Steve. But everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Majorie says, I completely disagree that being a narc is a choice. And that's fine, Majorie. Everyone, you know, are going to feel what they want to feel. But I will say this to survivors as well. Be careful about these perceptions of it not being a choice, because when you start thinking along those lines, it negates their responsibility for their actions. And it could invoke sympathy and empathy for you towards them that isn't quite warranted. I do think that narcissism is a gateway, of course, to going further down the spectrum and other things happening, like becoming a sociopath, and then like on the end of the spectrum, becoming psychopathic. So I do feel like narcissism is a gateway to, you know, more extreme but it is a choice to me. It is a choice. I feel like it's a choice just based off of, okay, well, if it's not a choice, why are they selective with who gets to see it and who doesn't? Okay, why are they being covert and treating someone this way behind closed doors? And then when the police comes, oh, we're snapping into this other person. If it wasn't a choice, everyone needs to see this monster 100% of the time out in the open. It's not going to be something that I'm guarding inside of me and picking and choosing who's going to see it. These are choices. Those are choices. I'm choosing who's going to be my emotional punching bag and who's not. I'm choosing a target that I want to try to make the primary source. This is very, they're selecting this. They're making choices. And in extreme cases, you're probably talking about a psychopath here, Steve. And it still was a choice to go down that pathway and to go deeper and deeper into the abyss as far as I'm concerned. It's a choice. Very good, 100. Keep the pathway. Keep that no contact going up. Rise and thrive. I wouldn't believe that. Tracy says, I totally agree. We all have a choice to heal. The narc in my life doesn't even know she's a narc. Well, maybe she may not have like that technical word for it, but you know, she has some indications of right and wrong. Majory, I don't know if it's impossible for the narcissist to change, but it would be extremely challenging for them. Extremely challenging. Just because of the way the personality disorder is set up and how long, you know, they've been doing these toxic behaviors. So it would be extremely challenging, extremely uncomfortable for them. And because the way their minds are set up and the way the personality disorder works, you know, they would continue to run from it. Yeah. Right, exactly. Thank you for that super chat. Steve, I don't know if I like that word autopilot. You know, I don't like using that word autopilot with narcissists. I don't like that because to me, an autopilot for a human being would be us breathing. You know, our body is going to fight to breathe. Our heart is going to fight to beat. You know, those things to me may be appropriate for autopilot, and sometimes they even dysfunction. You know what I mean? But to say the narcissist, if you want to look at that as an autopilot, they chose that autopilot. They chose it. It's not, you know, a part of, you know, what they were given to be born. Hold on, let me take this light off for 1 second. Let me see if I can see this right here. It doesn't tell me, so I can't tell. I was going to shout out for whoever just gave the super chat. And super chat is always open on live chat, guys, for anyone that wants to make a donation to the channel. But I can't see your name. I'll give you a shout out in the comments after the video uploads. All right. Michelle says, my narc actually tried to tell me he was an empath. Sure you are. I believe he's aware, right? Yeah. Yeah, they're aware, Michelle. They are aware. Very selfish people. I agree, Tracy. Why don't they choose to stop with Pete? I kind of was talking about that a little bit in the beginning of the video, and I was kind of relating it to like this survival of the fittest thing. Um, they feel like it's giving them what they want. We're thinking losing a supply is like, hurting them more than it is. Isn't. It's not hurting them, basically, the way that we think, and that's why they always have somebody else lined up, so they don't choose to stop because they're taking the lesser of the two. If they feel like they're getting more gratitude by staying this way and it's going to hurt them and not give them, okay, if they go up to someone and say, hey, I'm a narcissist, I'm just going to use you right now and then discard you, how successful are they going to be, Being honest and forthcoming about that is not going to get them what they want, so they're not going to choose to stop. And they become heavily reliant on, that way, those behaviors. And it's like, it's heavily, like I said, cemented in them because they've been doing this since their childhood, right? If they can't choose to stop, I doubt they can choose to start. They can choose to stop. That's the whole thing I'm saying. They can choose it. But I'm just saying they're less likely to choose it just because look at the pros and the cons. And, narcissists are very set up for instant gratification, if you will. And I've made a video for survivors that talked about short-term discomfort versus long-term, success and whatnot, and how we feel when we go no contact and we're trying to rewire our own brains from our addiction to the narcissist and how discomforting that is. So we're talking about a disorder that runs off of emotions, right? They're running off of emotions, and they like instant gratification. Like they want it now, they want it fast. So anything that is going to take some time, because unraveling, this personality disorder and getting them on a healthy track, boy, that's going to take, it's going to be like pulling the nails out of their hands. It's torture. It's going to feel like torture to them. Is it impossible? No. Is it going to kill them? No. But psychologically, they're so emotionally immature that they're not going to choose that pathway. It's just too much to them. They're perceiving that it's too much, so then they're going to choose to continue to do what they've been doing, right? Amanda says, I also wonder why they don't choose to stop when it clearly messes up their lives. It's an addiction for them as well. It's an addiction to them as well. And, they are emotionally stunted at that point. They're emotionally immature. I agree with that. But so were we at a certain time as well. But we did the work. You see what I'm saying? They have to be willing, they have to see, they have to evolve, They have to be willing to want to evolve. Steve says they can stop, however, rock bottom must be hit first. I feel like the narcissist hits rock bottoms all the time. They hit it all the time, but it's just they have a huge resistance. They have a huge resistance. And also, if you consider what I view as the demonic aspects of this situation as well, and the fact that they have typically other disabilities as far as, other diagnoses, like they could be bipolar, they could be schizophrenic, like we said, sociopath, psychopath, like all these onions of other things going on with them as well. They just have a lot going on. They have a lot going on. A lot. And Kenya just said it. I think they are all demon possessed, and here when you talk about them, thoughts and all, that's how they manipulate us so well. Well, I'm not going to give them all of that, Kenya. Because you ever hear someone tell you to not pray out loud because that's how the devil knows what you are saying and wanting. And that when you pray, to pray, quietly or, inside your mind. I'm not going to say that, narcissists can read our minds and all this stuff like that, but I do think that they have become crafty at reading people and their mannerisms and using what emotional intelligence they do have to gauge people in that way. Okay. I think more than that needs to happen, Amanda. Their enablers must stop enabling them, right? The current ones need to stop. And then, if they had nowhere else to turn, no one else lined up. And that's the hard part because there's billions of people on a planet. Everyone doesn't know about narcissistic abuse. People are being born every day, and they could even go to younger people who haven't experienced much in life, and that's the hard part. They can always find a source. They can always find another source. Well, what is this? Mahajan says they are masters when it comes to manipulation. I don't want to call them masters, honestly. I just think that they try to find people that they deemed as vulnerable, and they play on that. I don't want to call them a master because they haven't really mastered it. If not, they wouldn't have to keep changing people out. So... I won't say that they never hit rock bottom, Pete. I just think that, the way that they perceive life, they'll find a way to blame that rock bottom on someone else, perhaps, or, not really see it for what it is. Steve says, I don't think they really enjoy it because they experience great loss when truly good people leave them. No, some of them are actually very sadistic as far as enjoying hurting other people. And when they experience those great losses, they feel even more justified in hurting you, actually. And good people, they're not, they're not worried about losing good people. They're just worried about losing good supply. So you being an honorable, loving person to them, that's not what they're valuing out of the connection. Yeah, they are. They are very unhappy on the inside. They're not completely disconnected, Majorie. I don't believe that the narcissists are completely disconnected from themselves. But there is certainly a disconnect. But not completely. Steve says, I feel real sorrow for Donna. I don't believe she alone can help herself. Yeah. I don't see where... Yes, they do, Majorie. Majorie says they mirror whomever they are with, right? Paya Leah says, why do victims have to go no contact? Wouldn't that make the victim a narcissist because no contact is equal to a discard, or no? The victims or the survivors, I like to call them, they have to go no contact, Laya, because you have to, you know, get rid of the poison. You know, if I realize, you know, this food went sour or bad, why would I keep eating it? So part of cleansing ourselves and getting healthy is going to be removing the culprit, removing, you know, the toxicity. So this is why we have to go no contact. And because we've suffered our own psychological issues from interacting with this individual. And now we need to detox ourselves and allow ourselves the opportunity to get recentered and rebalanced. So how am I going to get healthy if I'm still enmeshing myself, interacting with the source that was largely a part of my backslide, or, you know, me falling down right now in my life? Like, it's negatively impacting my life. In order for me to move forward, I need to let go of that. All right. Now, that wouldn't make that person a narcissist for letting go of a toxic person. No, it wouldn't. Because I'm not doing it because I'm running. Number one, I was in a relationship for a different reason. So I'm talking now as the victim, or quote unquote the survivor, okay? I was in a relationship for different reasons to begin with, and I'm just ending it because I need to get healthy now. I want to do the work, and I don't want to be around a toxicity. That doesn't make you a narcissist. All right? Or else everyone that has an ending is a narcissist. No, sometimes endings are necessary in life. Marjorie is still standing by the fact that she doesn't believe that the narcissists have a choice in being narcissists. And, you know, Marjorie, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I just present, you know, what I'm feeling based off of what I've read and what I've observed. But no, I don't see it as a choice at all. Alexandra says it is because they refuse help and to do something about the horrible patterns in their life, and they ignore accusations you make. They are even though you know many others have told them the same, right? They're in denial, and they do. They spend their lives running from themselves. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Bothered MB says spiritually their conscience is geared with hot iron, which causes the disconnect emotionally. They have turned themselves over to something else because there is some self-benefit in their pain. Right. Yes, you do, Bond Girl. We all have been hurt. We did all the work and healed, and we are not hurting folks. Exactly, Tracy. Exactly. There you go. Oh, Bond Girl, thank you for your donation. Nope. Nope. I don't confuse narcissism with arrogance per se. And then, you know what? That's another great point, Steve. And this is another reason why I know narcissism is a choice. We all have narcissistic tendencies, if you will. All right, so why didn't we just go ahead on and grow it all to full-blown narcissism, you know? You know, overt narcissists, they have a lot more outward displays of arrogance as a part of the trait. All right. 100 said she faked a sore head to go home early when out with hubby. If some other guy caught her eye, then she'd sneak away with the other dude. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times they could be sex addicts too. Yeah. Sure Thing says she's afraid that her daughter is going to be like her narc father. And, you know, it's rough when you're co-parenting with a narcissist because, you know, especially they're spending time with the child and you don't know what is rubbing off for sure. And all you can really do is try to counter it with your parenting. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough, sure thing. And you said she's already displaying actions at 4. And I will say this, that, you know, and this is why this personality disorder is least identified. Children are known to be narcissistic a little bit, you know, because they're emotionally immature because they're children, you know, and sometimes it may be hard to see where it's because they're emotionally immature and they're learning, they need to be still taught, or is it because, oh, this child is going to end up being a narcissist, you know? And that's where things can get a little bit furry. Hey, Black Erica Kane, I'm glad you could make it to the live chat. Yeah. Great, Hank. I hope you're having a good day. I'm going to stay clear of that one, Steve. I'm going to stay clear of that one. Some topics, I don't know if I want to even go into. Thank you, Amanda. Everything does get better. Right. When a narcissist does hit rock bottom, they'll look for a supply to rescue them. That's very true. My kid's father would not contact me to help provide for our children, but try to contact my daughter through Marco Polo. Is that a form of hoovering? 6 months, no contact because he tantrumed on the kids. Well, I'm wondering how old your daughter is because he may just want to be in communication with her. And if he is a narcissist, he'll be, you know, passive aggressively probably trying to begin to get her to turn against you. And Wendy Karsh, he's not contacting you because he doesn't want to provide, you know? So if he's able to directly contact your daughter and being as though she's on Marco Polo, I have to assume that she's a little bit older, perhaps a teenager. He feels like he can still have that communication with your daughter while negating his financial responsibilities by not contacting you to hear that part. You know, he doesn't want to talk about responsibilities. Narcissists don't want to be held accountable. And if he's not with you, he definitely doesn't want to be giving you his money, even if he's a millionaire. So it's just how they think. So if, yeah, he's going to skip over you because that conversation isn't going to, he don't want to talk about that. Or else he would just be giving you that money to help provide. But he still wants to maintain a relationship with his daughter for his own agendas. If he's a narcissist, you know, like I said, to brainwash her, chances are, and to keep her friendly towards him, you know. 100 says, I kept saying how rock bottom is your rock bottom. You've already lost one boy and you're messing up other children's heads. I couldn't watch. I adopted 3 children. I might need a moderator. Right. You can't save them. Yeah, that's rough there, Bond Girl. She says she survived 17 years with the devil. And, you know, I definitely understand that thought. Judy Mayfield asks, what do you do when you go no contact and they keep calling and texting you every day? Part of your no contact should entail blocking them. So if you're able to block their phone number, in my phone, I know I could block people from calling and texting me. But then what'll tend to happen is they'll do it from unknown numbers. Because there's a setting in my phone where I could say I don't want any unknown numbers, but then they might use something called private numbers. Like there's a difference between unknown and private. No privates, but then the unknowns will get through. But they'll go straight to voicemail. You know, they could be relentless when they weren't the ones ready to let go. And I did make a video about blocking. So just make sure that you're doing everything that you can do. And, you know, sometimes people really need their phone number and they don't want to have to change it. And I understand that too. And unfortunately, sometimes you may have to get restraining orders on them as well, which takes more of your energy, of something that you're trying to move away from. So, you know, you do have options. I would just keep a record of it. You never know when you might need to present that to the police when you're making a report, or a detective, or to a judge in a courtroom. Right, Mary Monday. Breeze Hand says, how are some narcs able to keep long-term relationships, some along the lines of 10 plus years? Yeah, they may be with a very patient supply. You know, the source or the person that they connected themselves with may be very determined to, you know, stay in that relationship. And, you know, then they're both feeding off of each other's toxicity, if you will. And that's how that relationship is being able to be expanded upon. Now, the supply is trauma bonded. You know, things like a trauma bond keep them in that cycle of abuse, Stockholm syndrome, gaslighting, cognitive dissonance. Those things are keeping that person there. And the narcissist, you know, I guess you want to call it some kind of a mind control. They're able to continue to manipulate this person. And even though they're doing this cycle of abuse over and over, the dopamine that they're getting from the love bomb phase, or when things are coming back together, you know, it's keeping that person there. And people who have been in abusive situations, the longer that they've been in them, they do become numb. They start becoming numb. And, you know, it's not as scary, you know, if you will. It doesn't hold the weight that it should over time. Yes, definitely protect your heart, Mary Monday. Definitely guard your heart in this world. The Bible says everything flows through it. T. Johnson says, Lakia, what would your advice be to me going back to my old job where the narc still works? I've been totally no contact from him for 6 months. What advice if he should try to communicate with me? Don't communicate with him. And I don't know if he was just a co-worker, T. Johnson. Will he be your manager or superior? Will you be his subordinate? You know, these type of things are something to consider as well. So if we're just talking about he was a co-worker, somebody that's not signing your checks, I would just maintain the no contact. If you have to communicate, if it's going to be a situation where you have to communicate with him through work, I would keep it written, like emails, if you will. I would really try to lessen any type of one-on-one interactions, and just be very careful, because, you know, narcissists like to set people up. You know, they'll be quick to run the HR before you. You'll be surprised and accuse you of doing the things that they were doing. So just, you know, be careful with this person. And if you don't have to interact with them, absolutely don't. All right. And when you do go back to work, don't make it about him. Because like I said, if we're just talking about a funky behind coworker, they're not signing your checks. And this is where you have to have what I talk about in my videos, and that's that emotional shield around yourself, to where they can't passive aggressively or do things that try to bother you, because they might try to be seen, walk past your desk area. I don't know if you're going to be in a cubicle, if you have your own office, in the work cafeteria, try to sit near you. Try to talk to you in line while you're ordering your food, park their car near you. They might try to, you know, who knows? I don't know what the history is and all these things, but just be mindful that, you know, they might try to do these things, but you just have your emotional maturity and, you know, practice the art of detachment there. And hopefully you have detached from the narc at this point. All right. Hank Jones says, what if they don't understand their own problems? They don't. Most of them don't really fully understand it on the highest levels, you know. To narcs, you know, what we perceive their problems to be and what they perceive their problems to be are two different things. You know, to us, their problem is they're not honest, you know, they're not doing their shadow work, you know, manipulation, abusive, all these things. That's our problems with them. Their problems are, oh, who's going to be my next supply? You know, their level of thinking is just different, okay? It's just different. A problem to them and a problem to us. And that's why we're not equally yoked with them. And that's why it's going to be bumping heads, all right? So what that narcissist values, that's going to become a problem if they don't have that. But they're not valuing the honesty, love, respect, and loyalty. So they're not even looking at that as the problem, which is why I told you guys they can function in very toxic situations as long as they are getting the supply that they wanted. If all they wanted was money from you, they don't care if you're cursing them out while you're giving it to them per se. You know, it could cause somewhat of a narc injury, but at the end of the day, they got their money. So it's, you know, the way that they think is different. Yes, they will, Steve. They will. Or they might try to break you. Some of them just, they have that kind of time and they may be offended, you know, that it didn't work on you, and they might make you a little project, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to eventually break this person. I'm going to, oh, that didn't work. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And it depends on, you know, what's going on in their life. If they're bums to begin with, they don't have nothing but time to put into hating on you and trying to set you up, trying to destroy you in your life. Some narcissists are retired. Some of them are just, you know, have nothing going on in their life. Look, they might not run. They may just be a big enough of a narc injury, especially if you're the one that got away. They didn't really get what they wanted out of you. Then now they have something against you. And they want payback. They want to feel like they've been able to destroy you. Charles Amandi says, how come it is said that a narcissist is weak, yet they don't get affected as a strong empath? Well, there's all kind of weaknesses a person could have. So let's just say that, Omandi, all right? So when we talk about a narcissist's weaknesses, we would say, this is the twins are up. We would say that they're emotionally immature, right? And they're detached from themselves. They're weak in being honest. You know, they have these type of weaknesses, disloyalty, yet they don't get affected as a strong empath. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Maybe you mean, are you talking about an empath that has weak boundaries, perhaps? They're so empathic that they're just absorbing all the energy. So you're calling it strong because they're picking up all these energies, but yet they don't know how to not let it detach to them. Like, oh, I could feel that vibe and energy over there, or I could feel bad for somebody's situation without letting it attach to me and weigh me down like the bag lady. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean, but everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, Amandi. I would say that. And narcissists, you know, they have a whole lot of weaknesses. And they're void of empathy, all right? Razor Sharp says, my ex-wife triangulated me with someone I had a beef with years ago behind her in our marriage. She opened that same door again and split our family up for him. Now we're divorced and they're together. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not surprised, Razor Sharp. You know, these are typical things that narcissistic women do. They're not loyal to, they don't have loyalty just like the men don't. All right. Hank Jones says, what if they want to be like this? Can they find a cure? No, no, because they want to be like this. How are you going to change something that you don't want to change? You know, they want to be like that. So no, no. As long as she wants to be like that, Hank Jones is going to continue. Yeah, that's their own ignorance, Amanda. They think we forget about what they've done. And they'll give you time to cool off, and they'll come back and try to passive aggressively hoover you or love bomb you or give you some pathetic apology. They really do. Purple Pink. She says people give the narcissist too much credit. Yeah. Aw. Thanks for tuning in, sweetie. Right, they don't have empathy. Alexandra says, I don't see the benefit of this lifestyle to them. A life of always watching your back and paranoia, unable to sleep at night due to all that haunts them. No narcs I've encountered sleep well. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to look into that. There may be some neurological explanations for that insomnia as well. It's something that I can look into beyond the supposed guilt for all the people. If we're saying that narcissists don't have the empathy, then, you know, I wouldn't say that's the reason why they're not sleeping well, because they feel guilty about the bad deeds that they've done. But I have noticed that they do have sleeping or insomnia. They do experience that real heavily. Yeah. That's true, Steve. Savannah girl, there's a lot of Steves in the world, sweetie. Hank Jones says, I can't believe it took me 20 years to put all this together. Yeah. But sometimes we try to force the issue, Hank, and we're seeing what we want to see. That's what that is. You really, you know, wanted things to work out, and we were seeing what we wanted to see. Okay, they're 11. So they're still pretty young, Wendy. But yeah, hopefully the explanation that I provided for you, Wendy, would give you some insight as to why he's skipping over you into the door. He didn't want to talk about that money, honey. Argyle Jackson. Very hard to maintain no contact after 8 years. Was discarded on December 8th, on your birthday. Found out he was married and living a double life. Yeah. So, Gail, it just sounds like you're in the midst of that trauma bond real heavy. And that's, you know, the resistance that you're feeling. But, you know, To find out that he's married and living a double life, that's all the confirmation to let you know that this person is not the one for you. He just wanted to have a mistress, you know. And that should be very insulting that he would want to eat up 8 years of your life that way. And hopefully that would help encourage you to maintain the no contact, because what a jerk. Because you gave him 8 years just to find out he was married. So right now you're battling your trauma bond with him and probably a soul tie. Okay, and that's an emotional addiction that you have to the narcissist. Please check out my video that I put up yesterday. What did I even title it? Ending the trauma bond for good. I believe it's the last video that I uploaded. So if you check that out, Argel Johnson, that will help you out, okay? Right. Don't hold your breath, Pete. Unfortunately, you know. Yeah. BX Cutie for Life 2007. Survivors do go through that phase of watching the social media. I did it too with my ex-narc. It happens. But, you know, as you go through the healing process and you find more healing, that's going to become less relevant to you, all right? But if you find yourself, you know, stuck in that phase for too long, you know, maybe you should consider getting some coaching, all right? To help your perspectives with that. And I do have a playlist called The Narcissist and Social Media. If you haven't checked that playlist out, BX Cutie for Life 2007, perhaps you can, you know, get you some helpful information out of there. You're welcome, Wendy Carr. And Wendy, just final note on that. If you're not going through the court with him, it may be a twist, you know, he may run forever with the financial aspect of things. And even then, even with the court order, he may try to continuously appeal it, you know, quit his job to not give you money, deflate, not inflate, of course, his income to try to give you pennies to nothing. Look, they act a fool. They will act a fool because a courtroom is like a stage to them, and be careful with that. Charnel Williams says, I'm still healing from 20 plus years of abuse. I'm almost 41. I'm with someone I love and who shows so much love for me and my 2 girls. He is understanding of what I've gone through and trying to help. Oh, wonderful. Good for you, you know, that you are in a healthy relationship now. And, you know, it takes time. You know, narcissistic abuse is a trauma. You know, we never forget it, but with the proper healing, you know, it's definitely less potent over time. And you won't be thinking of it per se every day, all day. You know, that should lessen throughout your life, you know, as you're getting that healing, all right? But coaching is definitely something that I would recommend. I mean, 20 plus years, you probably have a lot to sort through, sweetie. And you don't have to do that on your own. I do have over 400 videos here on the channel to help you. You could take a lot of information from them, but if you still feel stuck after that, you know, I would highly recommend it. Lovely TJ Moon says, how do you help the children? And I'm assuming that you mean like you're co-parenting with a narc. How can you help them in a situation? Just by making them strong individuals. You know, the more emotional maturity that you can bestow within them, the better. And this doesn't mean like saying, your mom is a narcissist, your dad is a narcissist. You don't have to do it that way, but you can teach them about unhealthy people so that they can recognize the sign. Hey, if you meet people, like this, you could teach them about the disorders depending on their age without necessarily blaming or pointing the finger to the parent. But, just by making sure, that teach them emotional maturity, basically. Bestowing them not to take other people's attitudes personally. Like, just teach them these type of things so that, when they are interacting with that parent, they at least have that emotional maturity to deal with it. When they're younger, it's harder because, they are children. They're going to be emotionally immature to begin with. And some things are over their head. But you can help them by being that loving parent and by being the healthy role model for them. And then as their mental capacities increase, you can increase, what you're teaching them. And some things, just take it down to their level. Like, I had someone that I was coaching, and they were worried about their child understanding the abuse that she had with a boyfriend. And I was like, well, you can start, because the little girl was 4, and you could start by just saying, boys should never hit girls. Always let me know if someone hits you. You're a beautiful queen, or a beautiful princess, I would call her at that point. And no one should be doing that to you, because she may have seen the narcissist hit the mommy. You're like, no. You can talk to them in that manner. So be a parent, and don't forget to teach them self-esteem, make them feel loved, and teach them that emotional maturity so that they can have that emotional shield and be strong within themselves. Yes, you sometimes you may need to change your phone number. That's right. As Ran and Girl. Sometimes you have to. Yeah, sometimes we do make excuses for the narcissist. Bad, bad, bad. Yeah. Karen Hatch says, wish new wife knew truth about me. I shouldn't care. I've heard from him, but I'm still angry. Him and new wife live in the back of my house. And I'm angry about the betrayal and not now. And not no. Well, yeah. First of all, Karen, is feels like a conflict of interest that they would be so close to your circumference when you're trying to move on with your life and they're living in the back of your house. So I'm wondering why that is and what you can do to help in that situation. But anger is a part of the grieving process when we're healing from narcissistic abuse as well. I don't know how quickly he moved on and married, because I know usually it's very fast. So I have made, I believe, I don't know if I've called it anger after narcissistic abuse. A playlist. You might want to check that out, and I give some ways to de-stress and ways to or places to direct that anger. Because anger, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Everyone hears anger and they automatically make it a negative thing. Sometimes anger, it's very necessary to help us propel us away. You need to get angry. You need to feel some kind of way about, how you were treated. So, but, obviously it's helpful in a short term, but not in a long term, because then that becomes toxicity within you and is eating you away. So you have to find a way to process that anger, basically. So check out that series, and hopefully that can help you. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that, T. Johnson. So she said they were co-workers, and they dated for 3.5 years, and he cheated on you with your own cousin. I'm telling you, sometimes blood is not thicker than water. All right? Yeah. So in that case, you know, unless you have to for work reasons, you don't owe him anything. You don't have to acknowledge him. Just because he nods at you, does a little stupid smirk, like he thinks you guys are going to just say hi. Because, you know, sometimes, like someone mentioned earlier, when time goes by, they think, you know, that you'll at least be cordial with him. You don't even owe him that, sweetie. Amanda says, a lot of them do try to get with the people closest to you in life to turn them against you. Yeah. Like sleeping with your family members or best friend. Absolutely. Absolutely. Or trying to make them flying monkeys, you know. Penny Rose says, hi, I'm building up to leave my narc. I've been educating myself for weeks. I'm trauma bonding, and strangely, I still feel love for him, but I know it's time to end. Is this normal to feel like this? Yes, it's very normal, Penny. Very normal. Because even though the narcissist wasn't trying to actually love you, you were forming that connection with them, you know. But sometimes we have to love people from a distance, that's for sure. All right? Because we're not being reciprocated, and ultimately we love ourselves, all right? So definitely feel free to watch my videos on trauma bonding so you can understand the psychological and the neurobiology aspects of it as well. All right? And then that's going to help you be able to step into your logic and out of your emotions. Because right now, all that love feeling and, you know, that's your emotions. It's very important in recovery that you step out of those and into your logic, okay? Because sometimes we have to do what we have to do until, you know, we get there. And we know, just like, you can relate this to anything. You know, you can only give that child so many pieces of candy or else their belly's going to hurt. They enjoy eating it, but you know as the adult, you know what, I can't give you anymore. They're going to cry about it. But you know that's what's best for them. You gotta use like that kind of logic with yourself. Okay, I know that I'm trauma bonded to this toxic person, and you know my mind and the receptors in my brain, it's gotten some kind of pleasure from the love bomb phase. But now I know that this person is truly toxic for me. I'm in full acceptance of it. And now I have to break my toxic addiction to this person, and I know that it's going to make me feel like I want to still gravitate towards that person initially, especially because, you know, that's my pattern that I've been in for so long. So I'm going to feel that resistance, but I'm going to deny my flesh. I'm going to deny that to myself because I know that's not going to help me get past this toxic person if I keep giving in, if I keep going back. And that's stepping into our logic. So even though you're going to feel a certain way, you know, I could say I don't feel like going to work. Oh, suddenly my bills aren't getting paid. So, you know, logic over emotions. And as adults and healthy adults, we have to be able to do that. And it's the same thing from healing from narcissistic abuse, all right? And hey, Dancer, I didn't think you would be able to tune in here. Pete says, my narc wants to destroy me in every way it can. It plots and schemes in a dark bedroom. It's really creepy. Yeah, they do. And like I said, some of them have nothing going on in their life, and they have all day to spill out hate and stalk other people and try to plot other people's demises. And it's very real. T. Johnson says, how do you emotionally detach from them? Well, by stepping into acceptance first and foremost, T. Johnson, you have to accept that you're not being reciprocated. You have to be in agreement with that you deserve more. All right, you have to be able to see that it's toxic for you. The detachment is going to be helped by distancing yourself, and that's why we do the no contact. You're giving yourself time to get used to life without them and keeping it that way. You're creating a new standard. You're creating a new pattern. So this is why we always say no contact, not because we're trying to like punish you, you know, because it feels uncomfortable to break that pattern, but because it's necessary to create a new pattern, you know, to create a new way of being, right? So I do have a big old playlist about increasing emotional maturity, and I highly recommend that you check that playlist out. Deborah says, in order for someone to change, you first have to know you have a problem. And then I think you're saying here that God can change anyone if you want it. Well, God gives us free will. That's what I'm going to say, Deborah Maxwell. And it's not about what we want as far as changing someone else. It's about what they want. You know, even if I were a witch doing dark magic on someone, that, oh, this narcissist left me, I'm going to put a love spell on them and try to bring them back and do all this dark magic, is not, even if I want that, is not going to really work. And if it does, it's not going to be a long-standing thing, because that's not what's in their heart, you know. So the narcissist has to want to change. That's the big problem, them wanting to change. Mary Mundy says Narcissus was the most demonic. Let me see. The narcissist was the most demonic person I ever met in my life. Had to see it as that and thank God every day. Yeah, thank God that you got away. Aw, thank you, Pete, for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate that, and I will keep doing what I do. And then Pete says, I don't have much, but I'm sharing it with you. Oh, gosh. And that means a lot. That means a lot. And don't minimize your contribution. Don't minimize it, okay? Thank you, Tracy. Yeah. Well, that says a lot, Penny Rowe. You were saying how your narcissist has insomnia and they have a cocaine addiction. Well, you know, I believe one of the aspects of cocaine is, you know, it really wires you. So, yeah, you could spend days up getting high with that. So it does affect your sleep, your ability to rest. So more than his childhood experiences, Penny, it's the cocaine, all right? We seem to think that the narcissists are more haunted by their misdeeds than they actually are, and I really want survivors, don't think that. They're not somewhere in a corner crying, oh my God, I cheated on Nancy. No, they're not. They're not doing this stuff, all right? We're giving them too much credit. Because if it was all of that, they would want to get their rest, and they would want to try to at least stop being that way, right? Yeah, 100. Saying how the narcissists, they just don't see them grieving even when someone passes away. Yeah. They have other priorities. That's what we have to know about them. I know they're not as long as they look, Marilyn. That to be off topic, but yeah, I'm not gonna. I love this, but being as though I have kids and I have 2 daughters' hairs that I have to braid, it like totally gets in the way. And even though I think it's really cute, like this is what I would do with my real nails, the same colors, just with my real nails. But I was having a little fun for New Year's, but unfortunately, I won't be able to indulge so much because I have heads to braid and mommy stuff to do, and you know, little sacrifices. 100 says, P.S. Thanks, Lakia, for your devotion and cause. You're such a shining light. Yeah. You're welcome, sweetie. Take what you can. Alexandra says, I don't know. My ex was very paranoid, so if that linked with a conscious, no clue. Right. Yeah, I think they worry about what will happen to them, conscious or not. It's all about them. They lack conscious regarding everyone else, but not themselves. The type of conscious awareness that a narcissist has for themselves is not the deep kind that we want them to have, you know. So, yeah. Yeah, Wendy. Yeah, I have a playlist with co-parenting with the narcissist. I highly recommend you check that one out. But yeah, getting it to be 50-50, and that's the standard in healthy relationships, at least, it will be an uphill battle for you. Amanda says, thanks again, Lakia. You have helped me stay strong, and I'm very grateful. You're welcome, sweetie. Thank you, Steve. S-Ran girl, yes, I do know that I've been smeared on YouTube. I do know that there's always going to be trolls and haters, and someone has made some hateful videos about me and my children, which is very sick. This woman has a lot of mental disorders. But, you know, when you put yourself on a public format, you know that there's possibly people that may try to come against you. And, you know, that has happened to me. And, you know, just think about some celebrities. Thousands of people every day could be talking crap about them, making videos that aren't true, accusing them of things, and, you know, it happens all the time. You know, I knew that when I decided to start this YouTube channel that it's possible that, you know, it could happen to me too. I would have really preferred, you know, if that person wanted to put that hateful stuff up about me, that they just chose not to talk about minor children and pull them into their hatefulness. But, you know, this person has no respect. And for what I understand, like, they're very mentally ill. And I chose not to address that person on my channel. But I have contacted YouTube about removing the content. But, you know, anyone that watches that video for even a few minutes can see how sick that person really is. And all her credibility goes down into the toilet when she starts talking about children. You know, when she supposedly just has a beef with me, why are you talking about children? But, you know, earlier in the video, I was talking about how some people have time. They just have time, and not only time, they're putting energy into it. So you can see, you know, they don't have much going on in their life at the same token. So yeah, if any of you have seen that video, you know, just give it a thumbs down. That lady is very sick. But my emotional maturity is so high that, you know, it's like, I just see her for what she is, and that's just a hater. And I'm going down the messages here. Oh, you're welcome, Ted Berry, one of my day ones. Betty Boohoo Boo says, how long does PTSD usually last and how can I ever heal from it? I triggered myself this morning because I used a quote that he used to use. It brought me back to a dark place. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned triggers because that is going to be very vital in healing PTSD. All right, finding out what your triggers are, and you can minimize them and eventually eliminate them. So actively pursuing your healing, okay? And having that deep self-awareness to what those lingering triggers are at this point. And it doesn't mean that they'll always be a trigger, but just having that awareness. So now you know that it's that quote. You can work on your perception behind that quote, all right? Because a quote is full of words, and that narcissists don't own those words, you know? So it's a perception thing as well, because that perception of the connection, you know, to that abuser, and then that's triggering you. But Saren Serenian girl, yes, very sick to bring innocent children. Yeah. Theloni Stoner says, who did that? I just chimed in. I don't even want to say that person's name on my channel, honestly. She's not worthy of a mention. Okay. All right, guys. So we're going on an hour and a half here, and I did finally make it to the end of my chat here. It was great to come in and talk with you guys. Always, you know, if you hit the bell, it'll notify you when I come on and do these live chats. There are great times to answer questions. You're welcome, Tracy. And like I said, you did ask another very good question. Tracy asked me, how many narcissists are there? So that will probably be my very next video that I'll be uploading. All right. Penny Rowe, you're very welcome. You're welcome, Marilyn. I do have the support group, guys, on Facebook. Lakia Reflection and Progression Crawford. That link is beneath all of the videos. It'll be beneath this one, you know, after YouTube uploads it. Okay? And with that being said, guys, continue to work. And until next time, please take care.